You grow up learning that being nice is the safest way to move through life, that if you smile at the right times, nod in agreement and never raise your voice, people will like you, they will keep you close, and you will avoid trouble. It feels like a good strategy at first, because you do not offend anyone, you do not create enemies, and you imagine that approval will protect you. But beneath this mask, there is fear, not strength. You are afraid of being rejected if you speak your real mind. You are afraid of conflict if you show your true stance, and you are afraid of being left alone if you stop pleasing others. What looks like virtue is often just avoidance. You avoid tension, you avoid risk, and you avoid the sharpness of standing out. The trap of being nice is that it gives you a sense of safety, but at the cost of your identity. People may smile at you. They may say you are pleasant, but deep down they do not respect you. They sense that you are bending, that you are hiding your edges, that you are editing yourself for approval. And respect does not live where fear drives the show. People respect those who are solid, who have boundaries, who do not fold the second pressure arrives. The nice person does not realize that every time they rush to please, they teach the world that they can be used. Think about the times you said yes when you wanted to say no. You told yourself it was harmless, that it would avoid conflict, that it would make things smoother. But later you felt drained, overlooked, and invisible. The pattern repeats until you do not even recognize where your own needs begin. You laugh at jokes that bother you. You accept treatment that diminishes you, and you keep quiet when your voice should be heard. All because you fear what might happen if you step out of line. The world may see a nice person, but what really exists is someone hiding from themselves. The danger of this trap is not just that people take advantage of you, though they will. It is that you start believing this performance is who you are. You forget that you ever had sharp opinions, that you had preferences, that you had a spine. You become a ghost in your own life, drifting from one demand to another, confusing compliance with connection. And still, no matter how much you give, the approval never feels enough. The acceptance always feels fragile. The affection always feels conditional. The truth is, being nice is not the same as being kind. Niceness bends out of fear. Kindness stands out of choice. Niceness avoids conflict. Kindness sometimes embraces it for the sake of honesty. Niceness is about making others comfortable. Kindness is about doing what is right, even if it stings. When you confuse the two, you weaken yourself without even realizing it. The trap of being nice is that it looks harmless, but it erodes you quietly. It teaches others to take you for granted. It teaches you to distrust your own voice, and it leaves you wondering why life feels heavy even when you are surrounded by smiles. The way out begins with seeing the truth, that being agreeable is not the same as being respected, and that safety bought through self-betrayal is no safety at all. You think that if you give people what they want, they will see your effort and value it. But the truth is, people rarely respect what comes too easily. When you bend for everyone, you lose the shape that makes you noticeable. Instead of being remembered for strength or clarity, you fade into the background as the person who always agrees, the one who never pushes back, the one who exists to smooth edges rather than create impact. Respect does not grow in the soil of endless yes. It grows where people can feel the edges of your limits, where they see that you will not allow yourself to be walked over, where your presence carries weight because you are not afraid to draw a line. When you try to please everyone, you train people to expect your compliance. They stop asking what you want because they already know the answer. You will fold. You will agree. You will silence your own needs to keep them comfortable. At first it may feel like this wins you friends, but over time it strips away your voice until even those who benefit from your submission stop seeing you as a full person. You become useful but not respected. You become convenient but not valued. Respect is born from friction, from the ability to say no, from the courage to hold steady when others want you to bend. People do not respect the agreeable because they know the agreeable are motivated by fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of standing apart. And fear never inspires respect. What inspires respect is clarity, the ability to show where you begin and where you end, the ability to hold to your truth even when others try to pull you away from it. Think about the people you admire. They are not the ones who nod to everything. They are the ones who stand firm, who sometimes frustrate others, who sometimes create tension by refusing to bend. Yet that tension creates gravity. It pulls attention. It commands caution. It makes people measure their words in their presence. No one measures themselves around the pleaser. The pleaser makes everyone feel comfortable but never serious. They bring no weight, only softness, and softness without edges dissolves. The sad reality is that the more you try to please, the more people test your limits. They poke, they push, they demand, not out of malice, but because humans naturally sense where the walls are. And when they find none, they keep going, taking more, expecting more, until you are emptied out. Then, ironically, they begin to resent you because you allowed them to take too much, because you never said stop, because you let them cross every line without consequence. Respect does not come from generosity without boundary. Respect comes from generosity that has been chosen, that has been measured, that has been given from strength, not fear. When people know you can say no, your yes becomes meaningful. When people know you have edges, your softness becomes valuable. Without that contrast, without that backbone, your efforts to please become background noise. To be respected, you must risk displeasing others. You must accept that not everyone will like you, that some will judge you, that some will walk away. But those who remain, those who adjust to your boundaries, will see you as someone real, someone with substance, someone they cannot dismiss. And that is where respect is born, not from pleasing everyone, but from standing so firmly that even those you do not please cannot ignore you. The hunger for approval feels harmless at first, even comforting, because you believe it will smooth your path through the world. When someone frowns, you hurry to correct yourself. When someone questions you, you rush to explain. When someone seems displeased, you bend and soften until their smile returns. It feels like control, but it is not control, it is surrender, dressed as strategy. Each small concession seems minor, but over time the pattern adds up, and what it adds up to is the quiet erasure of your own self. Every time you rush to agree when your heart wants to disagree, you send yourself the message that your truth is not worth standing for. Every time you apologize when you did nothing wrong, you tell yourself that your existence is a burden to others. Every time you soften your voice or shrink your presence just to make someone else comfortable, you train yourself to believe that you are only acceptable when edited down. Approval becomes a leash, and you wear it so tightly you forget what it feels like to move freely. The cost of this is subtle but devastating. You begin to lose clarity about what you actually think because you are so used to adjusting to the thoughts of others. You lose the courage to make decisions on your own terms because you are always waiting to see how others will react first. You lose respect for yourself because deep down you know that you are betraying your own instincts. This is why so many people who live for approval feel anxious, drained, and strangely hollow, even when everyone seems to like them. They are liked, yes, but they are not seen. They are approved of, but not respected. Approval feels like safety, but in truth it is dependence. It ties your worth to moods you cannot control. One day someone praises you, and you feel high. The next day someone criticizes you, and you collapse. Your emotions rise and fall not on your own ground, but on the shifting waves of other people's opinions. That is not safety, it is slavery. And the chains are invisible because you built them yourself, link by link, every time you sacrificed authenticity for applause. The hidden cost of chasing approval is that it teaches you to doubt your own strength. You forget that your voice mattered before anyone approved of it. You forget that your presence had weight before anyone applauded it. You forget that your decisions had value before anyone praised them. Slowly, you stop existing on your own terms and begin existing as a reflection of what others want from you. You become a mirror, useful only when it flatters, discarded when it does not. The path back is not easy because it requires breaking the habit of apologizing for your own presence. It requires sitting with the discomfort of someone's disapproval without rushing to fix it. It requires holding to your choices even when others shake their heads. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. The freedom to live without constant permission, the freedom to speak without rehearsing, the freedom to walk into a room without shrinking. Approval may feel sweet in the moment, but the cost is your soul, and nothing is worth that trade. When you build your life around pleasing people, you imagine you are creating harmony. You think that if you keep giving, keep agreeing, keep smoothing over rough edges, you will be appreciated, valued, even loved. For a short time this illusion holds. People smile, they thank you, they call you dependable, but beneath the surface something else is forming. The more you please, the more others expect it, the more they assume it is your role to bend. And once it becomes expected, the gratitude fades. They stop noticing the effort, they stop valuing the sacrifice, they begin to take it for granted as if it was simply the air they breathe. That is where the first layer of resentment begins, not in them, but in you. You start to feel the imbalance, though you do not always admit it to yourself. You notice how little thanks you get. You notice how much is demanded. You notice how your own needs are quietly dismissed. At first you swallow the frustration, telling yourself that being unselfish is the right thing, but inside, bitterness grows. You resent them for not seeing your sacrifice, you resent yourself for never saying no, you resent the unspoken rule that you must always bend. On the other side, resentment grows in them too, though it looks different. When someone is always agreeable, always bending, always rushing to please, people lose respect. They sense weakness in it, even if they cannot put words to it. They start to see you not as strong or generous, but as someone easy to manipulate, someone who lacks a spine. And once respect fades, irritation follows. They may grow impatient with your eagerness. They may mock your passivity. They may even test you just to see how far you will bend. What you thought would win affection begins to breed contempt. This is the paradox of pleasing. The very thing you hoped would earn closeness ends up creating distance. You want appreciation, but the more you give without boundaries, the less they appreciate you. You want respect, but the more you bend, the less they respect you. And the resentment does not stay silent forever. It leaks out in small ways, through your tired tone, through their dismissive remarks, through the unspoken tension that grows between you. Both sides feel it, even if neither admits it out loud. What makes this cycle so damaging is that you may respond to the resentment by trying to please even more, thinking that if you just give enough, the gratitude will return. But this only deepens the trap. The more you give, the less they value it, and the more resentment grows on both sides. You lose yourself in the process, and they lose respect for you in return. The way out is not to stop caring, but to stop confusing pleasing with connection. Real connection comes from honesty, from boundaries, from showing up as a whole person who can give but also say no. Without that balance, every relationship you enter will carry the same silent poison, the quiet resentment that eats away at trust and closeness until nothing is left but exhaustion and bitterness. Predators and opportunists do not search for the strongest person in the room, because strength resists, strength pushes back, strength creates risk. They look instead for the softest target, the one who avoids eye contact, the one who folds under pressure, the one who mistakes being agreeable for being safe. This is why nice people are often the ones who are manipulated the most. The mask of constant politeness signals to others that you are afraid of conflict, that you want to be liked at any cost, that you will trade your own comfort for the comfort of others. To the wrong kind of person, that is not kindness, that is opportunity. When someone realizes you do not like saying no, they begin to test how far you will go. At first it may be small, a request for a favor, a push for your time, a demand you did not want to meet. You give in because it feels easier, because you do not want the discomfort of tension. But once you bend, the pattern forms. They realize you can be pressured, they realize your boundaries are flexible, and soon they are not asking, but expecting. Your niceness becomes the door they walk through again and again, until you no longer feel in control of your own choices. The danger here is that many nice people convince themselves they are choosing, that they are being selfless, that they are doing what is right. But if you look deeper, what is really happening is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of anger, fear of being seen as difficult. That fear keeps you trapped, while others use it to their advantage. The manipulator does not have to force you, they only have to suggest, and you will twist yourself to meet their demand. Think of how many times you stayed silent while someone took credit for your work, how many times you agreed to something that drained you, how many times you laughed at a joke that cut deep because you did not want to cause a scene. Each of those moments may feel small, but to an opportunist, they are proof. Proof that you will not resist. Proof that you can be guided like a puppet on strings. Proof that you fear displeasing more than you value self-respect. And once someone sees that in you, they will exploit it until you break. Niceness breeds manipulation because it is predictable. A person who always avoids conflict, who always softens their words, who always apologizes first, can be counted on to fold. Manipulators thrive on predictability. They know exactly which button to press, exactly which guilt to trigger, exactly which silence to exploit. You become a script they know by heart, a script that always ends with you giving them what they want. The harsh truth is that predators do not respect nice people, they feed on them. The more you bend, the less they value you. The more they push, the less you resist. And while you may believe your niceness is keeping the peace, what it is really doing is keeping you controlled. Peace bought at the cost of your own freedom is not peace at all. It is quiet submission. If you want to break this cycle, you must realize that being nice is not the same as being good. Goodness can still say no. Goodness can still set limits. Goodness can still protect itself. Niceness cannot. Niceness is weakness pretending to be virtue, and weakness is what manipulators are always searching for. Until you see this clearly, you will mistake chains for connection and obedience for harmony, and the people who sense your fear will continue to pull the strings while you tell yourself you are just being kind. Many people confuse kindness with niceness, but they are not the same thing. Kindness comes from strength, niceness comes from fear. Kindness is a choice you make when you are secure enough to give without losing yourself. Niceness is a reflex you fall into when you are too afraid to disappoint. One creates respect because it shows power and compassion combined. The other creates contempt because it shows weakness dressed up as virtue. Kindness means you see clearly. You understand the needs of others, and you decide to help because you want to, not because you are pressured. It is firm yet generous, soft yet rooted. Kindness can say yes with open hands, but it can also say no with steady eyes. It does not apologize for having boundaries. It does not shrink to make others feel bigger. It does not give away power in the hope of approval. Kindness is measured and intentional, and that is why people respect it. They know it comes from choice, not from fear. Niceness, on the other hand, is automatic. It is the nervous laugh, the quick apology, the eager agreement, the silence when you should speak. It is not rooted in real compassion. It is rooted in anxiety. You do not say yes because you truly want to help. You say yes because you are terrified of conflict. You do not stay quiet because you are peaceful. You stay quiet because you are afraid of standing out. Niceness is a reflex that hides behind a smile, and people can sense it even if they cannot name it. They sense the weakness, and instead of respect, they feel either indifference or disdain. Think about how you feel when someone helps you, but you know they did not want to. The act might look generous, but it carries no weight because it was done out of obligation, not choice. Now think about when someone helps you with full presence, not because they had to, but because they decided to. That difference is the line between niceness and kindness. One feels hollow, the other feels strong. The danger of confusing the two is that you believe you are being good when really you are being fearful. You convince yourself you are keeping the peace, but you are only postponing conflict while losing yourself. You tell yourself you are selfless, but in truth you are controlled by the need to be seen as agreeable. And while people may tolerate your niceness, they will not respect it, because respect is never given to someone who cannot stand firm. Kindness has backbone. It does not collapse under pressure, it does not hide behind excuses, it does not betray itself to be liked. A kind person can walk away from manipulation, can say no to demands, can endure disapproval without losing their sense of worth. A nice person cannot. They flinch, they fold, they seek to soothe everyone but themselves, and in doing so, they lose the very thing that would earn them respect. If you want to live with dignity, stop being nice and start being kind. Stop apologizing for existing and start choosing when to give. Stop rushing to be liked and start standing firm in your values. People may not always like kindness because sometimes it tells hard truths, but they will always respect it. Niceness may earn quick approval, but in the long run it earns only contempt. The difference is simple but life-changing. Kindness is strength, niceness is weakness. One is chosen, the other is feared. and only one will ever make you respected. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are lines that define where you end and where someone else begins. Without them, you do not live your own life. You live as an extension of everyone around you. The reason many people cling to being nice is because they think boundaries make them selfish, but the truth is the opposite. Boundaries are what make kindness possible, because without them you are not giving from choice, you are giving from fear. When you finally learn to say no without guilt, to disagree without fear, to stand firm without explaining yourself, that is when you stop being nice and start being real. Saying no is one of the hardest skills for someone who grew up pleasing everyone. The word feels heavy on the tongue. It feels dangerous, as if it will cut every tie you have worked to protect. But no is not rejection of people. It is protection of yourself. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you are not keeping peace, you are breaking your own trust. And once you break your own trust enough times, you stop believing in yourself. Boundaries begin with one honest no spoken calmly, not with anger, not with apology, but with clarity. Disagreement is another place where the fear of being disliked shows itself. Many people avoid it because they think it will push others away. Yet disagreement is natural. It is part of being human. It is how respect is built. When you hide your real thoughts just to be agreeable, people may like you in the moment, but they cannot respect you because they sense the mask. Respect grows when someone sees you are willing to hold your truth, even when it collides with theirs. It does not mean shouting or arguing. It means standing steady. It means saying I see it differently without shaking. It means being clear that your perspective is worth hearing. The hardest shift is learning to stand firm without explaining yourself. We are trained to think that every no must come with a long story. Every disagreement must come with proof. Every refusal must come with apology. But explanations weaken the power of the boundary. They invite negotiation. They open cracks that others will try to widen. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply say no, full stop. Not because you are cruel, but because you do not owe your life away in exchange for approval. As you practice boundaries, you will notice a change in how people respond to you. Some will resist because they benefited from your endless yes. They will test you, push you, try to guilt you back into submission. Do not fold. Others will respect you more, even if they do not admit it. They will sense the weight in you. They will see that your yes now matters because it comes from strength, not fear. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about letting people in without losing yourself. They are about living from a place of choice instead of obligation. They are about giving your time, energy, and heart where you truly want to, and protecting them from where you do not. And once you stop apologizing for those boundaries, once you stand firm without guilt or explanation, you will discover that what you feared would push people away is the very thing that makes them finally respect you. Approval feels like safety because it gives you the illusion that you are accepted, but it also chains you to the moods and opinions of others. Every time you seek approval, you are handing someone else the power to decide how you feel about yourself. You wait for their nod before you act. You search for their smile before you relax. You crave their praise before you believe in your own worth. This cycle keeps you small because it ties your identity to reactions you cannot control. Authority begins the moment you break that cycle. The moment you decide that your value is not up for a vote. The day you stop chasing approval is the day people start paying closer attention to you. When you are no longer desperate to be liked, you carry yourself differently. You move slower, you speak less, you pause longer. You are not rushing to fill the silence with explanations. You are not scrambling to smooth over every wrinkle. And because you are no longer bending to win validation, others lean in. They sense that your words are not thrown out to please. They are placed with intention. Authority is not in speaking more, it is in speaking less with more weight behind each word. People respect those who do not bend under pressure, because most people do. Most people shift their opinions the second they feel judged. They laugh nervously when challenged. They adjust themselves to avoid standing out. When you do not, when you hold still, when you remain calm in the face of criticism, people notice. Even those who disagree with you respect the steadiness. They may argue against your position, but they cannot ignore the presence behind it. That presence comes from living free of approval. Approval makes you predictable. Authority makes you unpredictable. If you are always chasing validation, people know exactly how to move you. They can guilt you, flatter you, or shame you into action. But once you stop caring about approval, they cannot find the lever. You become steady, unreadable, untouchable. That is when your influence grows, because people cannot control you, and what they cannot control, they begin to respect. Authority does not mean arrogance. It does not mean shouting louder, demanding obedience, or crushing opposition. Real authority is quiet. It is the calm certainty that you will not betray yourself to win applause. It is the grounded presence that tells others you are not performing for their reaction. And ironically, the less you try to win people over, the more they listen. People are drawn to those who are centered in themselves because it makes them feel the weight of authenticity. Think of the leaders who left an impression on you. They were not the ones who begged to be liked. They were the ones who stood firm even when unpopular, who chose clarity over approval, who lived by conviction instead of chasing comfort. Their authority came not from being adored, but from being immovable. The truth is simple. Approval gives you followers who vanish the moment you stop pleasing them. Authority gives you influence that lasts because it is built on respect. The day you stop bending for validation is the day your presence begins to command a room, not by force, but by the undeniable gravity of someone who cannot be bought by praise or broken by criticism. The journey beyond niceness is not about swinging to the other extreme. You do not become cruel, you do not become cold, you do not become arrogant. What happens instead is you become centered, steady, unshakable. Niceness is rooted in fear, in the need to be liked, in the constant bending to keep others comfortable. Once you leave that behind, you step into a different way of living. You are no longer a servant to moods that change from day to day, no longer a prisoner of approval that rises and falls like weather. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet power that commands respect without ever asking for it. At first, this shift feels strange, even lonely. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop apologizing for existing, when you stop saying yes just to avoid conflict, some people will react with confusion. They were used to the version of you who bent easily, who always gave, who put their needs first. They may accuse you of being selfish, distant, or difficult, but this is not cruelty. This is simply the resistance that appears when you stop being controlled. Those who depended on your weakness will not like your strength, but those who value truth will begin to see you more clearly. Being unshakable does not mean you ignore others. It means you listen without being swayed by every gust of emotion. It means you care without losing yourself. It means you can be kind without being used. When you give now, it comes from choice, not compulsion. When you help, it comes from strength, not fear. This difference transforms the way people experience you. They may not always agree with you, but they cannot dismiss you. They may not always like what you say, but they will respect that you mean it. As you evolve beyond niceness, your presence begins to change rooms. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to argue for attention. You do not need to prove your worth. People feel it in the way you stand, in the way you pause, in the way you speak only when you choose to. The quiet confidence unsettles some and inspires others. It shifts the balance because it tells everyone around you that you are not fragile, you are not dependent, you are not chasing their approval. You are grounded in yourself. The greatest freedom comes when you realize you no longer fear disapproval. The comment that once would have cut you now slides past. The rejection that once would have broken you now leaves you calm. The silence that once would have made you uneasy now feels like strength. You understand that being respected is worth more than being liked, that being whole is worth more than being agreeable, that being unshakable is worth more than being understood. In this evolution, you do not lose your humanity, you refine it. You still care, you still feel, you still connect, but you do it on your terms. You stop existing as a reflection of other people's moods and become a presence that shapes the space around you. And in the end, you discover the paradox that the less you chase approval, the more respect you earn. Not because you demanded it, but because unshakable presence cannot be ignored. Maybe this video helped you see yourself or someone you know in a different way. Feel free to let us know via a like or in the comments. And if you want more wisdom and guidance in becoming a better version of yourself, subscribe now. This is the moment to start becoming the person you really want to be.